Independent Senator Jacqui Lambie joins us live. Senator, good to see you. Thanks for your time this morning. So let's start off with The Voice. The Prime Minister saying this morning that we need to listen to the call from the community when it comes to voting yes on The Voice. And looking at news poll this morning, 56% as a subtotal are in favour of The Voice as it stands at the moment. So what do you make of those numbers at the moment? Does that surprise you at all?
I think those numbers will float up and down, to be honest with you, Pete, over the next 6 months. But what you're seeing destruction in places like Alice Springs and keep going Timber Creek and then keep going to Katherine and other places outside the Northern Territory, and that they start to show more media and that affects their media more. I think you're going to find that reduced, because I think that most people are now starting to wake up and at least say to me, what benefits does this give the Indigenous? And I'm like, I don't know. I can't tell you. But what I do know is we've been trying years and years and years to clean it up, and every move both major parties have made has made it worse. We certainly have done bugger all on closing the gap, apart from 3 of the initiatives which are slightly closed. I mean, this is a really shocking story. So it's lovely to put out lovely words out there, Pete, and I'm very... You know, I'm sure we'd all love to do that, mate, but I want to see the practical side. I want to see what difference this is going to make in these communities. So Albanese, I guess, the PM, is on notice now. What are you going to do over the next 3 to 6 months to clean up and show us what happens if this is put into place? What changes does that make in Alice Springs and the people that live there? And people are now asking those questions, and I think that's fair to ask, mate.
No, and a lot of people have made that point too. As it stands, does it have your support?
At the moment, I'm not, you know, I haven't seen anything really attached to it apart from some nice words. Hopefully I'll get some travel time up this year and go back around those communities. I certainly have had a lot to do around those Indigenous communities over the last 9 years with the cashless debit card. I want to see what that's done. But we've seen what happened when you pull that out of the Northern Territory. We've seen what happened when you remove the alcohol bans. If this is the way you're going, you are getting this very, very wrong.
Yeah, not a good start, is it?
Yeah, no. Issues. It's not a good start, Pete. And it's worrying.
So what's your hunch, Jacqui, at the moment? I mean, does this close the gap? You mentioned that in your first answer. Does this close the gap?
I don't believe it does, mate. And you've still got the same people sitting at the table. You've got the old guard sitting there. I mean, they've had an opportunity to change this for many, many years. You have how many Indigenous people in those chambers between the Senate and the lower house? Nothing's changed, mate. So I'm just trying to get my head around it, like many other Australians out there. How is this going to make Indigenous lives better? That's what we want to know.
There's even a strong doubt whether, even if it's successful, that this even happens during this term of government. I mean, so timelines are stretching out. Does that give you a cause for concern as well?
My concern right now is going in there and doing something in Alice Springs right now so we can get some sort of blueprint down pat so we know how to tackle the other communities out there. That's what I want to see. And I think that in itself would certainly help push those numbers up. But until he tackles that and he goes in there and going more left and doing soft stuff, it's out of control out there, mate. It is out of control up there in Alice Springs. It needs a lot more than that. It's time to come in for some tough love. I'm sorry, but that is the truth of the matter. And I'll be talking about this more in the next 3 to 6 weeks.
Okay, yeah, speaking about it...
need to do some tough love.
Okay, speaking of out of control, I just want to get you on a quick one on the economy. I mean, most economists are forecasting there's going to at least be another 0.25% rate rise tomorrow, Jacqui. That's going to apply the squeeze further on households. There's probably going to be other interest rate rises as well, at least 1 or 2 of them by the middle of the year. What's working at the moment? Are you convinced what the government is doing is working?
I don't think so. I'm not sure, but I'm not sure how you rake in the RBA either. So the problem is this: don't forget, a lot of those younger kids that invested in those houses, their fixed terms are going to be finished in June or July, mate, and they're going to have all those interest rates smack them down at once. That's going to be a problem in itself. So even while we're watching these next 2 or 3 rates go up, I'm more concerned of what it's going to look like between June and August, September, especially with those younger kids who invested. I see a lot of them going down. I'm sorry, we don't have a lot of rich families in Tasmania. There's not a lot out down there that people can say we can afford to pay your house, half your house rates for you. So it is really, really worrying, especially with that younger generation that have done the right thing, thought they bought their, done the right Australian dream, bought their house, and that to me is really, really worrying.
Just a final one here, Jacqui. Do you reckon the Chinese government's ever sent one of those spy balloons up over near Australia?
Probably, mate. I'm a bit worried about our military, our defences down here, but quite frankly, I think if you found if one of Australia's balloons or one of America's, what do you think? What do you actually think China would have done? I reckon they'd have shot it down, mate, before it even got over their mainland.
No, there's no doubt about that.
In the water.
Do we have the capabilities to do? Do we have enough to shoot one down if one heads this way?
I'm sure that we have the capability to shoot one thing. The balloons are my last worries, mate. It's if the missiles start coming this way. That's what bothers me.
Yeah, that's very true.
We're years and years behind here.
Jacqui,
Instead of worrying about submarines, worry about robotics and missiles, mate, and proper air defence system. We're a sitting island nation, so we're a sitting ducks. So
all right,
let's get it together.
Let's see what the Defence Strategic Review comes up with in the not too distant future. Good to talk to you, Jacqui Lambie. See you again next week.